Teresa Lubano. I'm the co-founder at UndaMeta.
I'm Dr. Francisca Odundo. I'm the other co-founder at UndaMeta.
It all started in a workshop. We met through a workshop that was being organized by the African Hub for Sustainable Creative Economies. And it so happened they had a voucher scheme. So we were being asked to actually do a small research, pilot it, and they were going to sponsor us like £1,000. So I was so interested in surface pattern design because at the time I was doing illustrations. And then also there were gaps, in terms of fashion designers always have a struggle when it comes to looking for fabric. Also, I felt like, when I just thought about textiles in this market, I hardly knew anyone by name who makes textiles, right, commercially. So I felt there was a gap, So Dr. Odundo simply called me after that workshop and proposed to actually partner with us. And I guess that's how we started the research. So it was thanks to the University of Nairobi and the African Hub for Sustainable Creative Economies that brought it to life. Now, we didn't stop at just the project level. We decided to actually go ahead and register it as a business. So in a nutshell, UndaMeta is a marketplace that offers curated African-inspired textiles for sale. Yeah, and we link textile designers with fabric producers, fashion makers, or any individual who's looking to come up with custom pattern.
Reception has been quite good in terms of interest. We find that there's quite a large number of people who are very interested in our concept, which is, as Teresa has said, digital retailing. So you find that we don't really keep any stock as such. You look through our website and anything that catches your eye or suits what your uses are, you can order and we will print on demand. So the interest is very, very high in terms of people being interested in African textiles. I would say that, like any new business, sales are now beginning to pick up. Both of us are fundamentally illustrators, very, very interested in producing visuals that not only are aesthetically positive, but visuals that also communicate. You find that the textiles that we have, and also textiles in Africa at large, were used as a very strong means of communication. This comes from color. What does the color tell the audience? To the texture of the fabric itself. What does it tell us about the wearer? What does it tell us about what the wearer wants to communicate? Look at the signs and symbols on it. Because we are both academic, we'll use the name semiotics,
Yeah.
but that it just means signs, symbols, and icons. What does this communicate? For us as Kenyans and Africans, this has always been extremely important. We wanted to bring out not just the aesthetic or visual beauty of the textiles, but also the messages that we wanted to send out as Africans to ourselves and to the world at large. The research that has been done in the country and what I've generally read about the Kenyan dress, for some reason, there's not a very strong pull towards looking for a specific textile that is Kenyan. There's a very strong lean towards looking for the form, the shape, the silhouette of the Kenyan dress, looking for accessories, looking for notions that will be added, such as beads, jewelry, but specifically towards the Kenyan textile, I'd say there's not so much going on in that direction. If I may go further on the topic, I would also say that we cannot run away from the fact that Kenya is a community of people, Kenyans at large, who have a large number of tribes, as we call them. I'd say about how many are there, Teresa? Is it
many?
About
40.
Yes, well over 40. And
with
we are, yes, making it difficult to give a precise number.
Yeah.
You find that we're very diverse. We're one, yes, but we're also very, very diverse. So for us to agree
Yeah.
is quite difficult. When it comes to the Kenyan dress and the fact that we have not come to a consensus over all these years, we need to begin to ask ourselves if going in the direction of looking for a silhouette or a specific style that will give us the Kenyan dress is the route we actually should be following. Should we, for example, not just come up with a textile that we can all use and fashion in whatever particular way speaks to our soul, speaks to our heart, and speaks to those around us? So this textile becomes the central factor that holds us together. We can also not run away from the fact that Kenyans as a people are very, very forward thinking. We're always ahead. Look at inventions that we have here, like M-Pesa. I hear that we were one of the first people in the world to
Adopt it.
yes, to adopt it. So trying to fix Kenyans, Gen Z, millennials to one style, very difficult. But if we have a textile, maybe we can reach a central point of agreement. I don't know. What do you think
I
about
agree.
it?
I think I totally agree. I think the challenge is there's such a diverse range of tribes within Kenya. So trying to say Masai is it, or Luya is it, or Coast it is, from a Kenyan dress perspective is perhaps impossible. And I think also because by nature, as she mentioned, Kenyans are really forward thinking. It's more about the next best thing and not so much a static standard. So it's a very hard thing, right, to sort of crack. And I think her suggestion makes sense. Perhaps it's just like the way in East Africa, Kenyans are known for their kikoi and kitenge. Perhaps it's a certain pattern on a textile that could be, something that could collectively um, unionize this ideal of having a Kenyan dress. So I totally agree about this.
Kenyan, what we may call Kenyan traditional textiles, I would say that their use has evolved in the sense that they have moved from being that which the younger members of our society saw as that which was worn by older people into something that they could also fashion into a fashion garment. For example, take the lesso, the kanga. You find that in the past it was something that was only used domestically by women to tie around their waist when they were working or to wrap their babies in. But it moved from that in the 80s, the late 80s, into being a textile that could be stitched into a contemporary style dress. So yes, there has been a lot of movement over the years.
The Deras as well has been part of this movement where sort of we're inventing with the same thing. Yeah, so I've seen even people making bags, the tote bags using kanga. I'm also starting to see the textile being put in things as interesting as laptop bags or laptop sleeves. So I think there's an evolution with similar the same textiles that was used before for the very same reasons she said, into new forms that are now being used in contemporary society, right? Because we have these gadgets. I've even seen a gentleman. I remember I went for a show. It was a Blaze show. This was like in 2019. He was making covers, phone covers with kanga fabric, and he'd actually, he had, I think, a specific size for the Android phone. But this is just goes to show how um, everyone celebrates the Kanga specifically. And I think it has a very rich heritage that people are willing to take it on and carry it forward. So yeah, so there's been an evolution, even from a symbolic point of view. Like the textiles may not be the same as what was there before, because if you look at the Kanga, there's celebration of dots and the korosho, but now we are seeing contemporary themes coming forward, whether it's politics. Like recently we had, we had what we call Mandamano protests, and there was Anguka Nayo, Asim Textiles, that has actually embraced some of these themes. So the idea of textiles being, I mean, sort of coming through and evolving is there. It's alive. I think for us as UndaMeta, we're privileged to see some of these themes emerge, and also just to see other themes emerge. And I'll give you an example. I happen to love botanical, you know, illustrations, and that's what I do. Now, it is um, it's sort of something you don't see as so you don't see many Kenyans doing floral print, but there are people who are doing floral designs, and I think UndaMeta gives us a platform to showcase what we love, what and it's still borrowed from our botanical art, right? Like what we sort of shape, perhaps what we see around us. So I think and this is just to iterate that as we grow into the textile industry, we want also African textiles to come into the fore and authentic African textiles. And we're seeing this now. I mean, if you check our platform, we have over 200 prints, from the traditional prints all the way to contemporary prints, all highlighting various themes, right? So this evolution is really integral to the growth of the fashion and textile industry. For the longest time, textiles has been really industrially done, and also from a commercial point of view, it's been expensive because the minimum order quantities have been 1,000 plus. So you're looking at waiting for very long for your textiles to come out and spending almost a fortune. So mainly it was done on behalf of citizens, right? So I'll give an example, like Rivertex would make a certain pattern for bedding, right? And that's what's adopted. But now, because of innovation within the textile printing industry, we're starting to see a movement from the industrial sort of lots of material as well as lots of dyes and inks that has its environmental repercussions to now a more eco-friendly way of doing printing, which is essentially and what we do, it's digital printing, which is more eco-efficient in terms of even use of energy as well as water, um, and of course shorter runs. So we're starting to see people, even an individual like yourself can say, I want to change my cushions, right? And I just want 3 or 4 meters to make my cushions, printing 3 meters. And we made this possible through our platform, which is pretty exciting. Also, fashion designers have the opportunity now to do their, small collections for, say, their examination and print with us. So we're seeing digital printing is sort of the future, as well as it's also print on demand, meaning it's more friendly, in terms of we're not overproducing textiles that we may not need. And yeah, and I think this is where we need to go, considering fashion being second, if not third, the third largest contributor in terms of global emissions. So yeah, um, we're privileged to actually use and harness digital technology to make this possible for our clients.
The fabrics are produced both locally and internationally. You would ask, why this? The Kenyan textile industry has a long, convoluted, painful history that would be difficult to go into. Well, not difficult, but very time consuming to go into. By and large, you find us in a situation where once upon a time in the 70s, the textile industry employed the vast majority of people underemployment at the time. We went to the point where this was no longer the case because of certain government and international policies coming forward right into the early 90s, where we had the structural adjustment program, and the country was put in a situation where they had to open up importation. Of course, bringing in textiles from the East is cheaper than producing it locally because their industries are far more stable. So as I say, the country has a very long history in all of this. Of course, this has a trickle-back effect where you find that people who produce cotton no longer have a market for their cotton. They stop growing it. It's very difficult to convince them to go back into production. So we find ourselves in that situation whereby, yes, there is currently a demand for cotton, but getting it out of the farmers, very difficult. So we do have industries that buy in all the cotton that Kenyans can produce, but we still have to supplement with importation from the region. That is Uganda, Tanzania, and of course, the East. Mm-hmm. We're not in a situation where we can do much about that. Then going into synthetic fabrics, of course, they're petroleum-based, so those come in from outside the country. As much as possible, we do provide cottons that are locally produced. That is our goal. That is the direction we take. So that is as far as the actual fabrics we use are concerned. In terms of printing, that is 100% local with us. Yes.
Fabric. This is our fabric swatch book. So we have 15 textiles. So this is Bahati, Baraka. These are other textiles. All these are 100% cotton. I think this is Bedazzle. This is Tangawizi, and so on and so forth. So we have approximately 9 natural textiles, and then right up to, I think, here. And after that, we now have our polys. Now, each textile, of course, has a different width, a different grammage, a different weight, but they're all spun and woven in Kenya. Of course, as Dr. Odundo had said, some of the raw material could be from India or Uganda, but we're working with local mills, so all this is, here, produced here. So we have we have the key right there at the back, right? Yeah. So this is Dwara Lily, a textiles I designed. Yeah, there you go. Just look closely. Yeah, so something we hadn't mentioned is you're able to actually buy designs, right? Like the file. So we have a designer's exclusive section. It's a closed section on our website where you get to own worldwide license for textiles. So this is one of them actually that you're able to own exclusively, as well as the Pendo Lily, which is this one. Very vibrant. Someone was even saying it looks cow. That is Kamba in Kenyan. Yeah. So for our exclusive rights designs, once someone purchases, we delete it from our website. Each design is going for around $400. So I think the future is bright for African textiles. We're inviting textile designers, illustrators, and graphic designers who are interested in being a designer on our platform to simply go online and check for a black button that says sell your design, and literally click that button and create an account. Once they submit their first pattern, we're able to then check and onboard them. Now, to find us, it's simple. Go on to www.undameta.com. You can also email us on info@undameta.com. And for buyers, all you need to do is go onto our website, choose a pattern you love. There are many. We have over 200 patterns, all by African designers. And you're able to then choose a fabric. We have over 15 textiles. From your cottons to your poly cottons, we have a poly viscose. We also have polyester. Now, the range is wide and it keeps growing. So once you choose your textiles, you also will choose the meterage. We start from 3 meters. up to 500 meters for digital printing. Once you shop, you'll then deliver your textiles within Kenya within 2 weeks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just to add on to what Teresa has pointed out, we currently have African designers uploading their designs on our website. However, even if you're not African, but you're interested in African textiles,
Yeah.
you're more than welcome. We have had a couple of Europeans showing interest. Our only ask of them is that they design African textiles. I think it would be very interesting for us to begin to have Asians and Europeans designing African textiles. In the same way, for the longest time, we've had Africans designing European textiles. And as Teresa has said, we only print up to 500 meters per design. We do not want to go back to the situation we were in the late 70s when the government began to control importation. So we ended up with dominance of a couple of companies who were printing textiles that we all had to wear. So we had a national uniform. So for each design, we only print up to 500 meters. However, if you do come in as an individual or company that wants more than 500 meters, as long as you own the design, we do not have a problem printing thousands of meters of the same for you.